A whole lot of first-time homebuyers get caught up in the big questions. What's my interest rate? Should I wait for the prices to drop? Is now the right time to buy? And look, those things do matter, but they are not the things that will make or break your day-to-day life once you move in. What really matters? The things we are diving into today's video. The red flags that can turn a dream home into a living nightmare. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. Hello and welcome. If this is your first time to this channel and you're wondering who am I, my name is Dharmik Dixit. I am a local real estate agent serving Kitchener and surrounding towns, and I have people just like you reach out to me looking to relocate in and around Kitchener Waterloo, and I absolutely love it. So whether you are thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. You can call me, text me, email me, or even schedule a Zoom call. All my contact info is right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener Waterloo. All right, so you can probably see my screen by now, and we're gonna get straight into it. The first one on my list is the homes with high tension power lines. Now, this is what we're talking about is, you walked into a home, you like the home, and you go upstairs, you look at one of the bedrooms, and what you see right in front of you out of that window is, high tension power lines, where there's a gigantic tower, like triangular shape, all the power lines are connected to it. And the natural question that comes to your mind is, should I still consider buying this home? Well, just know that there is no direct health concern. There is extensive research that's been done to prove that there is no health hazard for occupants in the home next to those power lines. So that's that. Having said that, there is a stigma that is associated amongst the buyers for homes that are sitting next to those high tension power lines. I'll give you my example. I've had buyers who have decided not to go ahead with an offer despite they like the house from inside, they like the neighborhood they wanted to move into, but what they saw is we had those power lines backing next to the backyard. So, there is a stigma and it's hard to overcome. There's not much that you can do about it. It is going to stay there. So know that even if you choose to move into one of those homes, when it's time for you to sell your home, that could potentially affect the resale value because of that associated stigma, which is hard to overcome. And, it could make your house less competitive compared to one of your neighbors down the street if they are selling around the same time. So those are the few things to keep in mind when you're buying homes next to those high tension power lines. So next one on my list is flood zone and low-lying area. Well, unlike the high tension cables, just know that this actually pose a potential risk. There are real risk of your home, being more prone to flooding than the other homes which are not located in the floodplain area or the low-lying area. What I mean by low-lying area, I'm talking about the grading and the slope. Ideally you want the grading to be away from the foundation slopes, in a way that if water was to fall, the water is running away from your home, away from your foundation. You don't want it to be this way where, your house is here and the foundation is right here and you are sloped like this. Guess what? When the rain falls, all the water is not getting away, but it's getting towards your foundation. So especially if the waterproofing around the foundation is not done well, there's high chance that you could end up into a flooding or a water leak issue. But talking about the flood zone areas, well, every city will have their boundaries of the areas which are regulated flood zone areas. Here in Kitchener, at least I can talk about this Grand River Conservation Authority, and you can actually pull up their map. Very interactive, very easy to use. Again, your real estate agent should be doing this, but if you want to do it yourself, you can do it too. You can put up any address. So let's say you looked at a home, you liked it, and you just want to be sure that it doesn't fall in the floodplain area. Then you can just punch in the address and it will tell you whether or not. For example, in this map, anything that's purple, it's safe. It's not part of the floodplain area. But anything that's red, orangish, that's homes located in that map, in that vicinity, are part of the designated floodplain area. I'll just pull up, not some random home here, and you can see special policy area, floodplain. So you want to be wary of that. Also note that if you were to end up buying in this, designated flood zones,
Insurance company obviously would know that, and at the same time, that could potentially be higher insurance cost because of the higher risk of flooding in those low-lying and flood zone areas. So just be wary of that. Right, so this next one on my list is, let's say a home that is located on a busy street or an intersection, or even next to a commercial plaza. Well, ideally you want to be situated a little bit more private. That's just my take on it. There is a street here actually not too far away from where I live. It's called Victoria Street. There are many main streets in every town, and if you live on homes situated right on that street, first of all, noise levels will tend to be higher than usual, even at nighttime, because there's constant traffic. I mean, Victoria Street being the main street, there's constant ongoing traffic. In fact, I can pull up the street and you can see, right? Like, this is the street. Like, think about it. If you are a homeowner who lives here, right, and you could definitely be facing constant ongoing traffic. Second of all, I would not feel comfortable leaving my kids unattended in the front yard unless it is fenced. You will have to have it fully fenced, the front yard. But, it could pose some safety concerns. Traffic levels and noise levels will be higher than usual. Same thing goes with if you are situated next to a busy plaza. Like, if you're right in front of a plaza where there's Tim Hortons, McDonald's, or something that's open 24 hours, like a convenience store, guess what? You will encounter some ongoing traffic concerns, the nuisance, the noise levels, everything like that. So, I would personally bring it to my clients' attention if they're moving into or deciding to move into something like that. But just know that, that could sometimes hinder the peace of mind and, the quiet enjoyment, what we call, of owning a home and living into it. It won't give you as much privacy as well, right? And sometimes there are some safety concerns, because if it's a quiet code or a quiet crescent, you would be more than likely to step out. Let's say if it's especially late at night, someone is, trying to, loiter around your neighborhood or around your home. It'll be okay for you to step out and say, hey, you know what, can I help you with something? Because there's no rhyme or reason for them to be out if they're just lying around there, right? But if it's a main street, it's hard to avoid that because, guess what? Especially if it's a plaza, there is a parking there. There could be a car sitting there and, watching at your home all night long. So privacy and safety could be a concern. Again, that's just my take. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? Obviously, people are living on those streets and they like it, but it may not be for everyone. So just keep that in mind. Now, this next one on my list are the homes that are older and not retrofitted. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me give you guys a couple of examples. Between 60s and 70s, we used to have aluminum wiring used for electricals. Now, the building code has gone through changes over time, right? In last 50, 60 years. Another great example is plumbing. In 90s to early 2000s, we used to have many homes used Kitec plumbing, but that was banned because there was a failed system. A lot of pipes did crack due to the severe weather we have here, and that resulted in leaks and flooding. So just to give you guys, asbestos insulation is another great example, right? If you go in older homes, back in days, they used to have it. Now they don't. But if you're faced with any of those, retrofitting it could cost you tons of money. So just be careful. If the home is old, but retrofitted to the current building code when it comes to electrical, plumbing, all those things, you're good. But if it is an older home, I would definitely go an extra mile to make sure it does not pose those issues, because it could, first of all, it could be a headache for you to change it, and it could cost you a lot of money to retrofit it. Secondly, to get the insurance, even if you decide to live with it the way it is, getting an insurance on that will be very costly because of the high risk, and it could pose potentially higher risk for your own safety when it comes to fire, especially aluminum wiring, oven tube wiring we used to have back in days. Those things are not as safe as the current building codes and the electrical system we use to abide with those codes. So just be mindful of that. If you're going with an older home, I would just say not every old home is bad. Just know what you're getting into beware of it, and then decide accordingly to see what fits your needs. Now, the next one on my list is the homes with bad layouts and flows. In other words, bad floor plans. I have mentioned it to my clients again and again. Like, with a well laid out floor plan, practical floor plan, you could be looking at 1400 square feet that makes you feel like you're in a much bigger home. And there is other side of it where, the layout is so impractical. There's so much lost space in the layout that even if you're in a 1600 square feet, it makes you feel like, oh, it doesn't feel like a 1600 square feet. It actually feels much smaller than what it is. And that's a classic example. I mean, there are a lot of multi-story homes we have, like multi-story townhomes that popped out in many neighborhoods of Kitchener. And what you see is, as you enter, you have stairs all around the home. Like you have one flight of stairs leading you to kitchen. You have another flight of stairs leading you to living area. So kitchen and living is not on the same level. Then you have another flight of stairs leading you to two secondary bedroom and a washroom. And then your fourth flight of stairs leading you to a primary bedroom. Now, this is like a lot of stairs for many people. And yes, again, you have a flight of stairs leading you to the basement. So pretty much like almost 5 levels, right, in a townhome. So I've done showings for homes like this with my clients. And one thing I can tell you, it's either you love it or you hate it. It's one of the two things, because they are not that typical layouts that everyone will like. So if it fits your family's needs and what you guys are looking for, great. But just be careful and note that it's not that prevalent, and it may not be as much practical for most other buyers. So that could potentially affect the resale value. And, especially if you are buying to not be a destination home, and if you plan on moving out in a few years, then that should be a consideration in mind, saying the layout is not as practical, it's not as spacious, and that's why you should consider passing on to that. Next one on my list, again, this is more like a self-explanatory, but flips. We have all heard of it. Sketchy renos. There are homes I've seen where during the showings where laundry room, they've included a 3-piece washroom in the basement. Next to basically part of the laundry room is turned into a washroom. And, it makes you think like, what else has been done so sketchily in these homes, right? It really pops up a lot of questions in your mind. And those flip homes are very much similar. Again, if the workmanship is done right, then it's completely fine. But you have to be very careful with the flips, because if the home was purchased just for the purpose of flipping it, the workmanship may not be up to the mark. Like you can see the corners, the finishes, the baseboards, the walls, the type of paint, everything, right? Even the flooring, the way it is laid out. You don't see those gaps between the baseboard and the floorings. Yeah. Talk about all of that workmanship and the quality of it. Secondly, you don't know what's hiding behind those walls that are just freshly painted, because you might want to just take an extra step. That's all I'm saying, to kind of do your own due diligence and know what's going on. How strong are the bones of the home, let alone the renovations. Because, many times, especially with the first-time home buyers, when they see the pictures, they look great. When you look at the history of the house, well, it was purchased just a few months or a year ago just to flip it, and now it's back on market for an extra couple of $100,000. And, that's where, again, a job of a real estate agent definitely comes to play, to do that extra due diligence. But as a buyer, you should also be informed, and you want to make sure that you take that extra step before you jump into something like that, to make sure that, it is not a lemon that you're getting. The bones are strong, the foundation is good, there are no major expenses that are hiding behind those, pretty looking countertops and cabinetries in the kitchen, or modern new appliances that are shining, to drive away your attention from those, baseboards and, possible leak in the basement. So again, just be careful of those, flips, I would say. So the next one on my list is homes that are located close to the industrial plants or city plants. What I mean by city plants is waste management plants, right? Industrial plants, we don't find a lot of residential around those industrial areas these days, especially if you go with newer development. But yes, you want to be careful, especially around the truck yards. And the list can go on and on, but there are a lot of manufacturing facilities all across KWC, more so in Cambridge and some parts of Kitchener, not so much in Waterloo. But just be mindful of that, right? Especially if you are getting into something like that. More so, the waste treatment plants can be a major issue. I'll tell you why. I mean, there is a good example of that. Like, we have a neighborhood, really good neighborhood, really good homes. You're looking at high eights, high nines into the $1 million homes next to the Costco Waterloo. And guess what? Right across Costco, we have waste management plant where the whole landfill waste is being treated. And basically it's a landfill, right? So all the garbage goes into it. The problem is, in a hot and humid summer day, or when it rains, and it's humid, you sense a foul smell in the air. Now just imagine, I've been to that Costco and I've experienced that during those hot and humid summer days. But now just imagine you're trying to enjoy the summer outdoors, the weather. And as you step outside of your home, all you smell is the foul smell coming from that waste treatment plant. There's no way around it. You can't really do much about it except moving to a different neighborhood or a different home. So just be mindful of that. And of course, it can affect the resale value of your home. But this is where you have to be careful and personally avoid it, because the waste treatment plants, they don't move, in a few years or even decades. They stay there. They are there to stay there. And even if they do change, there's right next to that waste treatment plant across the Boardwalk Plaza, there is another residential subdivision. Same issue. Like, they face the same issue. You drive around that Walmart during a busy and a hot summer day, you will, experience a foul smell. So just be careful, guys, when you move into some of those neighborhoods. And again, this is why I do really emphasize that working with a local real estate agent can go a long way for you. Lastly, let's talk about homes that are located nearby a cemetery, right? This, I'm talking about homes that are literally backing onto a cemetery. There's actually a good example of that. Williamsburg Cemetery. I can actually try to pull it up here on my Google Maps since I have. Williamsburg Cemetery, right? It's on Fisher-Harmon Road. And what you will find is, look at this, right? Like, this is a cemetery. And you see these homes? Like, look at these homes, for example, right? So you have these homes falling right backing onto a cemetery. So, there are, this could pose an issue sometimes, because again, there's nothing wrong with it, to be honest, guys, but just know that, people do still have stigma that's associated with it. And those things are hard to overcome, right? If a buyer decides to not go ahead with a home just because of that, guess what? You as a seller basically can't control anything. Like, you're not going to be able to move your home or the cemetery, but it affects you and the value of your home because of that stigma that's associated with a potential buyer. So just be careful of that. Again, it's not that blanket. People obviously live in those homes, live in those neighborhoods, but it's very important for you to understand what you're getting into, especially when you're making a biggest investment of your life, arguably. So there you have it. This is the list I had personally compiled to, bring up the things that I would think twice before moving into if I'm dealing with any of the situations in the homes that I'm planning to buy. Now, it's obviously not an exhaustive list. It could go on and on, with some obvious ones being the bad neighborhoods, the bad schools, and so many others, right? So if you guys think there is anything I missed out, should have made it to this list, be sure to comment down below and everyone can know that way. Now, having said that, if you did get some value, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and tap on that bell so you are the first one to get notified when a new video pops out. And whether you are thinking of moving in 9 days or 9 months, be sure to reach out. You can call me, text me, email me, or even schedule a Zoom call. All my info is right below in the description. I'll be more than happy to help you make a smooth move in and around Kitchener Waterloo. Until next time, well, I will continue to show you guys around town.